Welcome back to the Home Expo Podcast, where we connect homeowners with experts who can help them transform their living spaces. I'm Tammie Hartman, and on this show, we talk with trusted specialists about design, renovation, sustainability, and everything that helps you create your dream home. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something that affects every one of us: indoor air quality and hidden toxins. Modern homes are often sealed tight to be energy efficient, but this can trap pollutants, allergens, and chemicals inside. If you've ever wondered why you're sneezing or why your home doesn't feel as healthy as it could, stay tuned. Our guest is America's healthy home expert, and she's here to share practical advice to help you breathe easier. Caroline Blazovsky is nationally recognized as America's healthy home expert and CEO of My Healthy Home, with over 20 years of experience and more than 30,000 home inspections. She is an environmental consultant, investigator, and media personality. Caroline, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you became the expert in home healthy living?
It's crazy, right? Well, thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here and to share this with your audience. So thank you. And yeah, it's crazy, right? Like we never thought about healthy homes back in the day. People used to smoke in a home, right? Remember the day when people would have ashtrays or cigarettes just like lying around, or cigars, and nobody ever thought about it. And then as time transitioned, we sort of came into this period. I think COVID helped push us there, right? To think about our homes and how healthy they are. And so, yeah, it's, I started many years ago, 25 years I've been doing this. And I originally started looking at mold in homes when nobody was. And so, that's a hot topic now, right? Mold and in schools and homes and buildings.
Yeah, I mean, especially, people don't realize how things get trapped in their home. Like you said, smoke, dog allergens, cat allergens, just germs in general. And with radical toxins in the air, we're also bringing that into our home. I mean, I noticed that more and more homes are not putting carpet in their house. Why is that? Because there's so much crud in their carpet.
Right. And it all gets trapped. It's like a giant filter for anything that comes into your home. That I try to explain to my clients. I'm like, your carpet is literally a filter. So anything you walk on, bring in, the dog runs around outside and then tramples through the carpet. That carpet becomes a filter for life. So yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, but I mean, that's probably why the area rug industry has blown up, because you can just clean it, toss it, buy a new one. And all of these other chemicals that they've come up with cleaning our floors. I mean, Swiffer and all these other chemicals, where I think back in the day we used Mop and Glow to make sure that our floors were shiny, not just clean. I mean, who knows?
And people had buckets of chemicals, and kudos to the marketing to the cleaning industry, because they've made us think that in order to clean our homes, we have to use all of these toxic materials to do it. And that's just not true. So, and we can talk about that. Like, you don't need to be over cleaning. And believe it or not, your home has what we call a microbiome to itself. So those are like, you're never going to get rid of every bacteria or mold spore or dust mite. That's impossible, physically impossible. So what you need to learn to do is have your body sort of coexist with your home and have those things work harmoniously, not having too much bacteria, not having too many dust mites, not having too much mold, but where you can have a equilibrium with you and your body. And so that's when you actually feel healthy, when your body's at that kind of homeostasis level. So it's not being taxed all the time.
Wow.
It's interesting.
That's true. That's very true. And I think we just touched on that, why indoor air quality matters. I mean, can you explain how today's energy efficient, airtight homes can trap pollutants, and share statistics on some common indoor contaminants, like you just touched on, mold, allergens, and how it impacts the respiratory and overall health?
Sure. So basically, I mean, when we're looking at homes over the years, like over a 25-year lifespan, we're starting to see that homes are a plethora of problems. There's so many things going on in a home. So you have, your kitchens, your bathrooms, your sink, that's all mold, bacteria. Then we have what are called your combustibles in your home, right? So that's like your furnace, your water heater, your stove, your range. Those things all are putting out pollutants constantly. So just the structure, the guts of the home have all kinds of issues we have to contend with. Then we have the shell of the home, and that's all your building products, your kitchen supplies, your cabinetry, your textiles, all of that outgasses. So we've got all these things, how a house is built. Then we've got all the mechanicals we put into a house. And then we have us, right? The occupants who come in and all the things we do, from our hair to our dogs, to our
Mhm.
pets, to shampoo, to nail polish. Our husbands like to store maybe, every kind of car mechanic chemical that you could possibly imagine because they want to work on their car. And woodworking, artwork.
Mhm.
People do artistry in
Yeah.
homes. So homes have really never been looked at in the way they should. And we do all these things in a home.
Mhm.
So, over the last 25 years that I've been in the industry has grown, in leaps and bounds. And now you see more and more people talking about healthy homes. It's a hot thing, right?
Mhm.
And we see more and more people talking about their home health because of the fact that they're working from home now. They don't have
Yes.
any office building to go to, right? I mean, even like podcasting and
Mhm.
all of these YouTube shows. I mean, a lot of people are spending majority of their time at home, and the home has become an office. So that's why
Mhm.
we're concerned, right? Because we don't even have any basic monitoring going on in homes, and we need to kind of do that for ourselves. Otherwise, it's not getting done, and then you create a health issues. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
'cause I think in and commercial buildings, they do have a filtration system, but
Yeah.
isn't it just recycled
So
air?
homes majority have recycled air. We in a home,
Oh, okay.
but in buildings,
Mhm.
typically, depending on the size of the building, they'll bring in what's positive air. So they'll bring in fresh air to dilute the CO2, which is, when you put a lot of people in a space, we breathe out, right? So if you have a commercial building, you have so many people in that space, they'll dilute the air and actually exchange the air, and then they'll dilute it down with some outside air, which is called positive pressure. They're bringing air into the building. But in a home, no. In a home, it's all recycled, all dirty, barely getting filtered. Most people aren't paying attention to, maintaining their HVAC the way they should.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
there's so many things in a house, and we'll touch on a couple of things that I, worry about, but there's a lot. I mean, we could talk for hours about it, but there's a lot of things going on in the space.
Yeah, and then you add, outside things that people are doing. They're trying to be healthier, and instead of smoking, what are they doing? They're vaping.
Oh, it's worse.
And that has produced even, more issues with the lungs. And then you go into your house and it has carpet and you got a dog and everybody thinks that, oh, this car has less emissions and I mean, is it really true that we bring these emissions into our garages, and
That's right.
how are our garages actually being protected of our home that we actually live in? Is that even like a factor? I know that a lot of people are charging their cars in their garages. Does that have any kind of
Sure.
effect on inside of the home?
Absolutely. So your garage is attached to your home. So anything that happens in your garage, whether you're storing paint cans, you're storing pesticides, people store all kinds of herbicides, right? But they spray, they put that in the
Mhm.
garage, and then they start their car up in the garage. And yes, EMFs, and you have a charging station maybe now in your garage, which is an environment, we're
Right.
not talking about pollution in the sense of particulate or chemicals, but we're talking about EMF, which is electromagnetic fields. All of these things
Mhm.
impact you. And just because it's in the garage and you shut the door to the garage and you don't go in there doesn't mean that that doesn't infiltrate into the home. So, absolutely, everything
Right.
that's attached to the home becomes an issue.
Mhm.
And you have to, as I test air quality all the time, I'm looking at where you're bringing these things in. And I see all the stuff in the garage that ends up in people's air samples. So, yes, absolutely.
We did talk about, carpet and um, that has allergens in it and the material with the build. But what about hidden toxins, for instance, the furniture? I mean, the furniture that we're bringing in, we're buying our furniture from other countries. And I don't know if there's any kind of protocol in testing what products they're bringing into as furniture. Have
Correct.
you found in the last few years any toxins in our furniture that we're buying that are affecting our health as
Oh,
well?
absolutely. So think about your home is there's no regulation as to what really comes into a house. And that's your building products, your paints. People think that because they build a home or because it's allowed in the industry that we have a governing body that sort of protects us. Unfortunately, we don't. In the building industry in general, there are very little or no standards at all to what we can bring into a home, which is scary because that means that any contractor can come and put something in your home and use a product. They don't really know the outcome of it. They have never tested it on any kind of, a health study. So yes, all of these things that you bring into your home become of question. And then what happens is your home is so tight, right? You talked about the energy efficiency piece, like we're building homes more energy efficient, tighter, and these things aren't able to outgas out into the ether. They stay in the home. And that's how we become susceptible, right? So if you had a couch that maybe had something that wasn't so great in it, but you had a lot of ventilation, you would notice it less than if you were in a tight house where you have no ventilation and you bring a new piece of furniture in. And plus the house is smaller, right? So you're in close proximity to it. But yeah, I wanted to talk. I like to tell stories because I think it's very interesting for people to kind of like
tell us the story.
So it's interesting for people to like understand how this works. And so I had a client in Los Angeles who he was an older gentleman. He was like in his 80s at the time, and he had gotten sick. And he had gone through all the tests, right? He'd gone through scans, he'd gone through the blood work, he'd gone through the urine, he'd done everything. And the doctor's like, look, like we don't really know what's causing your symptoms. He was feeling lethargic and just didn't feel well and, kind of flu-like. And, people were kind of dismissing him like, oh, it's your age, right? You're 80. And he's like, look, I've never had this before. I'm 80, but I'm a spry 80. And I don't need to, I think there's something going on. So his doctor referred him to me and said, there's a woman on the East Coast and she investigates your homes and your health and looks at where you could be susceptible to something and what could be contributing to the health effects. So he came to me and I started testing his home. And I looked and I said, I'm going to do some dander counts, which is basic, right? We all shed dander. We talked about pets, right? So pets shed, they shed dander skin cells. So do humans. We shed 500 million skin cells a day, which is really gross. And this is why you want to talk about
oh my gosh.
You want a vacuum. And this is why. So we're all shedding all over the place. So I did a test on this gentleman's home and I wanted to see how much dander he had. And this is an immaculate home. This is a home up in the Hollywood Hills. Like this gentleman had like history of, dating celebrities and really just immaculate home, beautiful textiles. So I get a call and his dander counts were really elevated, which I found strange because they had cleaning people. They had people coming in, they were doing their due diligence. They weren't not cleaning.
Right.
So I asked him if I could find out where that dander was coming from and do what's called a protein analysis. Like, was it coming from a dog? Was it coming from a cat? Was it coming from a human? Was it coming from a dust mite? So I looked at the proteins and don't ask me why I usually do it's a panel, right? And you can look at different types of proteins that are there. And one of them that I do is horse. And horse is weird. Like he had no exposure to horse, but it was in my panel and I did it. And it came back and the lab called me and said, Caroline, we have never seen this much horse protein in a sample ever. Like, where is this guy living? Does he live in, does he have a barn? And I'm like, no, he lives in the Hollywood Hills in this beautiful mansion. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So I called him, the client, and I said, look, you're going to think I'm crazy. You're going to think this is nutty, but you have horse protein all over your environment. And the phone went silent. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, he's going to fire me, whatever. No. And he comes back and he's like, kid, like, I know exactly where this is coming from. He's like, it is coming from my masseuse. My masseuse has horses. She goes to the barn, hangs out with the horses. Then she comes to my house, hangs out with me, and she's bringing it in. And why do I tell this story? It's because everything, whether we're talking about COVID, we're talking about dander, cats, dog, you go to the grocery store and you're in the aisle and there's mold in the grocery store. We bring these things into our home on our person. We have friends come over and they end up in the space. And what this guy was experiencing, or gentleman, was that he had a horse allergy and it was making him sick. And this woman who was innocently going to visit her horses came into his environment and was loading his space because he wasn't using HEPA filtration. They had a lot of textiles, tapestries, fabrics, carpeting, like you said. All of this was just becoming a filter for everything she was bringing in. And, I hate to say it, she did get fired, but he's fine now and he got better because he had a horse allergy. So,
oh my gosh.
This is the stuff I deal with.
That is just crazy. I mean, I've had a, a I don't have any allergies except for Swiss cheese. I'm
That's
fine with
great.
every other cheese, but Swiss cheese since I was a little kid, and I keep, trying to eat it, and I'll have like a bite or two and I
That's
have a
wild.
reaction, and I'm thinking, why is it just Swiss cheese? So I finally looked it up, and it's the mold
Well,
that
there,
they use to make the Swiss cheese.
that's interesting.
How crazy is that?
Well,
It's
cheese is mold. It's like
bizarre.
it's totally filled with mold, you know?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
that's
and so, Swiss is not my favorite cheese, so we have an understanding.
oh my
I leave you
goodness.
alone and you don't make me sick.
Oh my god. But, then you magnify that out and you talk about mold and, like, all the different types of mold that can come into homes, right? So, the impact of we have dishwashers and sinks and showers and
Mhm,
all of those things are water sources, and when you're not maintaining them, or even if they have a
mhm.
just in general, now you have all types of species
Yeah,
of mold, right? So, lots of things that
yeah,
can make you sick in a home.
yeah, it's crazy. Could you tell us some simple ways to elevate our indoor air quality from like visual inspections to professional testing? Maybe what your predict and I hear you have predict and examiner
Right?
kits
Correct, yep.
that help homeowners identify mold and allergens. Do you sell those kits online, or what is that kit, and can someone actually use it for
Yes.
their own use?
Yeah, so there's so many technologies now to assess your home, right? And so like you said, a visual inspection is always important, like looking to see if
Mhm,
anything's leaking, like is your roof intact? Is your roof solid? Have there been earthquakes, storms? I mean, now with climate change, we have all of these things happening from torrential downpours, hurricanes,
mhm.
earthquakes, like just climate changes that we haven't seen, and also vast temperature changes, right? Going from cold to hot, hot to cold.
Yes.
And there's a
Mhm,
lot of changes in code too because of fires, right? Fires have created a whole different world where we have to build differently, and that affects the building envelope in the home. So, having a visual
mhm,
inspection, having someone come out and look, whether it's someone like myself or any type of home inspector to see, like, are there any leaks? Do we have anything that's changed? Anything's different? That's important. And
mhm,
then there's all kinds of resources now, like the ones that I developed, but you can actually test your home. You take a couple air samples within the space. That comes back to our lab. So you order a kit for $400. That kit gets sent to you.
mhm,
You take air samples with instruction from our company around your environment, and that comes back to our lab. And then we can tell you all kinds of things. Do you have mold? Do you have dander? You have dust mites? Are you cleaning right? Are you, even though we know how to clean, we learn from our grandmothers who learned from our great
mhm.
grandmothers. Like, you don't really know that you know how to clean. It's something that we were taught, and sometimes we were taught properly and sometimes we weren't. I have the same thing. So some people tidy, some people really clean. There's a difference. But
Yes.
we can look at, are you cleaning well? Like, are you using a proper vacuum? Do you have pets? Do you have dander in your home? Do you have construction materials? Like, a lot of people have leftover silica dust that comes from all kinds of building. So we can see all that in a
Mhm,
test. We can look at mycotoxins, mold, like, why are you sick? It's amazing. Like, it really is. And I think when people are going to a doctor and you're
mhm.
getting no answers, especially
Right.
you have headaches, you have sinusitis, you have all these chronic things that really just aren't coming up. You're not
Mhm.
coming up with anything at a doctor, and a doctor's telling you, hey, Tammy, you feel great. Your blood work looks good. And you're like, no, I don't. I just don't feel well.
No, I don't feel good.
Right. And you know it. That's when you want to start to look at your home environment and order a test. I mean, you spend it on nutrition, right? We spend it on our products, we spend it on the doctor, but our environment is so key to our health.
Mhm,
And we're taught that. Like, I went to the University of Southern California and studied public health. And while I was there, they talked about the importance of the environment. I mean, that was the first thing. Like,
mhm.
it's a social determinant of health. Where you live is going to determine how you feel. But when we get out into
Right.
the real world, right, into the medical
Mhm,
community, when we go to the doctor, when does your doctor ever ask you what your environment's like? Occasionally you'll have a doctor that says, do you have pets? There's a
mhm.
couple good ones out there, but for the most part, they're just looking at your symptoms in the office, and no one's assessing, what's actually going on at home.
Yeah, it seems like the medical communities are they're just taught to fix the symptom and not really find solutions to the problem.
Correct.
I
100%.
mean, luckily, when my son was born, he had an amazing doctor who was very much into not only the medical side of his illnesses whenever he would get a cold, but also the holistic side of how to treat a cold for babies. And one of them was to boil an onion on the stove. And did it smell good? No.
But it
But did
helps.
it help him with it? I know it totally helped, and I didn't have to pump him full of pharmaceuticals. I know that there's a lot of things out there that are more holistic in how we can take care of ourselves. We don't have to buy into supplements all the time or sprays or medicines. And I think that we're just taught that when you're sick, you just go to the doctor and you get medicine and then you're fine.
Yep.
But it's not completely the doctor's
That's
responsibility
right.
to keep us healthy. It's
100%.
us.
You hit on it. That's 100% true. And nor do they have the time. In the whole country, we have
Mhm.
about 90,000 physicians, right? How many people do we have in North America? 30, I think it's like 345 million
A lot.
people, right? A lot.
A
So
lot.
we've got all these people and like a little amount of doctors. So you have to think
Yeah.
that you are not going to get the care that you can get. So you have to, like you
Mhm.
said, it becomes you. You need to take priority over your life, your kids, your family, 100%. It's all us, you know? And now I think with, you know, everything moving so much faster with technology, with AI, like, I mean, the information you can get is so useful. Use that information, like, and type something in
Mhm.
AI, look for any kind of, you know, answer. And it's amazing what you can find. And then there's a lot of people out me, like entrepreneurs that are just creating these resources for
Mhm.
healthcare. So it's cool. It's actually cool.
Yeah, and it's overwhelming, how much information we have access to, and I think that sometimes we're not sure which one to pick.
Yes.
And for someone who is obviously easy to talk to, is very knowledgeable, I think that these home kits could probably help a lot of people. We will drop the link down below after this podcast so you can purchase one of these kits, and let's take responsibility for ourselves and our health. The other item is like advocacy and education. It's like what is your work on the boards that you're on?
Mhm.
ACAC and IAQI, and your mission to educate the public and professionals. I mean, do you have like efforts to update building codes? I mean, what does that
Yeah.
look like? And how can we promote healthy home standards for ourselves, to be responsible for ourselves? Like, ask questions. You know, what is in our paint? What is in our, like, how is this wood treated
Yes.
for building? It's like, how can we help?
And I think that's, I mean, I think just what you're saying. So when you have a contractor come to your home and you're going to do a project, you know, say, look, I've done some research. I'm concerned about my indoor air quality. Like when you're going to paint and spackle and rip apart my home to do construction, like what methods are you taking to keep my family safe? And I think when you start asking those questions to your contractor, that also starts the process because when, it's just like anything, right?
Mhm.
When small grassroots, when people start requesting it, that's how things get popular. It doesn't start from the top up. It always starts from the bottom.
Right.
You know, the community's requesting it. People are requesting organic food. They're requesting that their homes be healthy. And that's what's happened over the last 25 years that I've been in the business is that homeowners are concerned about the health of their family. And so when they're doing
Mhm.
construction or they're doing projects, they want to know it's done in the healthiest way possible. So one, just ask the question, do you have
Mhm.
healthier alternatives to building products? Like, you know, obviously we all are familiar with low VOC paint, right? That's been a common thing that people are more, you know, concerned about, that we can use a better paint. Are there better construction materials? What are the health of those materials? Like, you're going to put an engineered floor into my house. Like, what's the difference between an engineered floor and a wood floor? Like, why are there those differences? And just asking those questions, I think, is really important. And then, yes, I sit on multiple boards to help credentialing, like to help create indoor air quality credentialing and create people, you know, tests and education for people who are working in our industry. So that's important, like making sure that we're educated so that we're giving you the greatest information that you can have as a homeowner or whoever we're working for. So yeah.
So do you have a team that you work with that goes out and assesses the homes as well? So it's not just you running all over the country trying to figure out what these allergens are?
So yes, we have a team, and it always takes, it takes a village, right? So when I'm doing a home investigation, and predominantly I am the environmental consultant, that's me, right? I got to be one of the top experts in the
Right.
country because of my background. But when I work on a
Uh-huh.
home, there's so much involved. Like, I'm working with a remediator, I'm working with an architect, I may be working with a duct cleaning company, I may be working with a physician. So homes are very complex, and there's a lot of different problems that can go wrong. And so when we have to fix those, it's like a huge village that you have to have these
Right.
networks, right? So it's being able to
Mhm.
network, and then also and that's why I created the Examinaire, which is our test kit. We can do all testing virtually and remotely. So you can sign up with us from anywhere. I mean, I do homes in Australia, New Zealand, overseas, London. I mean, I do homes all over the US.
Wow, that's
So you
amazing.
don't have to just, work with me at your home. We can send you what you need. You'll take air samples for us, and they come back to our laboratory, and we can tell you exactly what you have. So we can test your water, we can test for all kinds of contaminants, toxins, building products. And then virtually, because of actually COVID, we started doing virtual
Mhm.
inspections, right? I mean, we can see so much. I mean, we can see your home so vividly on the camera systems that exist now. So it is incredible. And there's so much that you can do. So that's always cool, right? When you can do things and not tie up your schedule and be virtually
That is amazing.
available.
I mean, and everybody's in front of a screen,
That's it.
right? So it's all they have to do is just click on a link and
And they're
they
in.
can get their home inspected.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, what would be like a practical action plan that people can do? Maybe you can summarize some simple steps for the listeners that they can do immediately, maybe to improve their ventilation or reducing the chemical cleaners. Like, what's your
Mm.
favorites? How can they check for mold or, maybe use HEPA filters? I know my vacuum cleaner has a HEPA filter. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure if it's doing its job, but can
Better
you
to
just
have
kind of
it.
summarize the steps?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just
I love
summarize? Yeah.
and I love giving people free tips because, I think once you get started doing something, then it becomes habit, right? So the first thing that I
Right.
would say is think about your home as a big bucket. And everything that you're bringing into your home has some kind of influence on your health, whether it's you're storing hair stuff, like products, like try not to store a lot of things in the home. I know it's a habit. People store 10 paint cans. And a paint can,
Mhm.
for example, is never hermetically sealed. So if you're storing a paint can in your home, that can is outgassing wet paint all the time into your air quality. And people don't realize that. They think, oh, the can's sealed, so it's not bothering
No.
me. Same thing with your shampoos, same thing with hair dye, same thing with WD-40, things that you may have, car wax and Armor All and any kind of
Mhm.
adhesives, glues, stains, all of that stuff. Those bottles are not hermetically sealed, so they're outgassing. So try to minimize what you're bringing in and be conscious about what you're
Mhm.
bringing in. If you don't feel safe having it there, it's probably not safe. And don't store them in the home. Store them in a shed, something outside the building,
Right.
right? So look at
Right.
that
Okay.
first. And then the second
Okay.
thing that I would like to touch on too is that you talked about the vacuum. Having a really good vacuum is worth its weight in gold. Like, people, none of this like dust bunny, none of the, oh, I'm going to fill it up, no filter bag. I'm going to, the I fill in dump. No, no, no. Like, you need to invest in really good vacuums. Amelie's good,
Mhm.
Nilfisk is good, Sibo is good. These are brands that function and look at the mechanicals of how the dust and particulate is picked up in a vacuum and keeping it in that vacuum so it doesn't redistribute itself out into your environment. Because a lot of the times you're vacuuming and you're vacuuming fast, right? Oh, I've got to get it done.
Right.
That's the worst thing you can do because it disturbs the particulate and launches it outside the vacuum, like out around it, and the vacuum never gets it. So, like, going slow, making sure you're vacuuming, and that stuff's getting sucked up into a vacuum that has proper HEPA and proper bags.
Mhm.
So yes, having HEPA is
Okay.
important. You need to have that. So proper, reducing chemicals in the home, what you're doing, making sure you're using a good vacuum. And then thirdly, I would say making sure you're changing your sheets and washing your bed sheets at above 140 degrees, um, in a washer and dryer setting on high. And that's because that kills the dust mites. And dust mites, like we talked about, we shed 500 million skin cells a day. If you're not vacuuming and you're not doing your bedding, it's gross, people. Like, you need to be doing your sheets and laundry at a high temp, and vacuuming your mattress, making sure you do have a mattress vac. I think those types of things are super, super easy to do. And you can do it yourself, and you don't need me yet.
Yeah, nothing really fancy. Okay, well, that's like a couple of tips that people can do to reduce the dander and the ick in our homes. And
Yeah.
I will definitely be washing my sheets in hot water.
Woohoo! Yes, please.
Oh my goodness. So indoor environments can have a profound impact on our health, as Caroline explained, and modern airtight homes trap pollutants and allergens that can lead to chronic respiratory issues and other health problems. I know that there's a lot of people that have allergies, and what are
Yes.
they allergic to? We don't know.
Mhm.
And by understanding common sources of toxins, using affordable testing kits like Carolyn has on her website, again, we will drop the link down in the comments, choosing natural building materials and improving your ventilation. Maybe when you're cleaning, open your windows, and that way all the stuff might be able to get outside as well. You can transform your house into a truly healthy home. Caroline has also reminded us of some small changes in switching to green products. Maybe instead of using, bleach, maybe we can use something more healthy in the home, like, I don't know, lemon juice or
hydrogen peroxide. Like, I always recommend people, as long as you're not taking out color. So, because hydrogen peroxide will bleach just like bleach will. But in your showers and toilets and sinks, hydrogen peroxide is like amazing. It has no byproduct to it. It doesn't break down into something toxic. So look, there's a lot of great, every day on the market, there's something coming out with a more natural cleaner. So make sure your dish soap, make sure your laundry detergents, all of that stuff, plant-based is always good. And trying to, really, no sense. Fragrance is good in a 15-minute clip. When you start going crazy with fragrance, it's a no-no, because those are usually synthetic, and then they cause problems. And I just want to touch on one thing too, is that just because something's green doesn't make it healthy. So, for example, if you were to use a lot of citrus, like, a lot of the cleaners, like the indoor the wipes, like the disinfection wipes,
the Clorox wipes.
Yeah, or we don't need to name a brand, but we can just say a disinfection wipe has what's called has citrus smell, and that's natural. It's called D-limonene, which is a chemical. Your body can't differentiate between a chemical that's synthetic and natural. So when you inundate your home, and during COVID, when I was testing air quality, we saw all this D-limonene, citrus showing up in very high quantities in homes, which could potentially make people sick. And sure enough, it was coming from the wipes. So, and because everyone was with COVID, everybody's wiping everything. Remember, like, everybody's disinfecting. So that, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's good. Fragrance in limited amounts. So trying to get fragrance-free soaps, detergents, hair products, as much as you can do fragrance-free, it is much better for you, just across the board. Low volatile organics.
Yeah, I like to use essential oils. Do you think that also has toxins?
Well, it's still, like I said, essential oil, that citrus, right? You have different types of, like eucalyptus, you could have lavender. Those are volatile organic compounds. So they are VOCs and chemicals. So you want to be using them sparingly. Don't just diffuse it into your house 24 hours a day. That's a bad plan. Like 15 minutes a day, putting a little dab here, that's fine. But it's still, your body still recognizes it as a chemical. It has to get rid of it. So yeah, the essential oils can become problematic very easily.
Oh, okay. Got it. All righty. What Caroline has also reminded us is that, just being mindful of our furniture, our finishes in our homes, tables, chairs, couches, whatever, and all of it can make up a big difference. To learn more or schedule a consultation, you can visit My Healthy Home and follow Caroline's tips on her website. If you have liked this episode of the podcast with Caroline, please click on subscribe, like, share, and we hope to see you next time at the Home Expo Podcast. Thank you, Caroline, so much again for joining us, and we will see you next time.
See you soon.